Welcome everyone. June 11th, 2025, Computational Computing Outreach Committee meeting. We're going to do the preambles, of course. We're a consortium focused on computational computing, the processing of data in use. Everyone's welcome. So transparency, collaborative. There's going to be more opportunities for collaboration later today. So be ready to collaborate. So again, non-harassment, professional workplace for everyone. Antitrust policy notice, of course, is important on anytime multiple companies are collaborating together. So please check out the antitrust policy if you are unfamiliar with it. All right, agenda for today. We're gonna do some of the, our preambles, of course, and our business that we usually do right here at the front end. We're gonna have a quick update on some of our social media work including what the heck is going on in Bulgaria. Then we will talk a bit about CC Summit, clean up the last of the business around our mascot and member badge program. Talk a bit about the issue that came up in the last meeting with these communication channels. Then we've got another event coming up in September, AI Infrastructure Summit. I can give you a quick update on IDC research. And then if we have time, there's a few other items that we might want to do some cleanup on. We had a follow-up on a feature that we wanted to do on the event QR code and budget. Okay. List of representatives and the team. So we have quorum today.
No, we don't. We have
think we
two people
do.
on the voting list present.
All right.
But there's no voting decisions required.
Okay. Of course, the staff, always our emails and contact information always in the deck. So when you get the minutes after the meeting, and you need to get a hold of us, that's where you can find our email addresses. We're going to talk a little bit more about communications channels, so keep that in mind. Any new folks coming today? Or are we all familiar faces? I think everyone is a repeat guest, so welcome back. All right, approval of minutes for last time. Any objections to approval of the minutes for last meeting? Hearing none. Considering those minutes approved. Okay, let's dive in. Again, reminders, the job board is, of course, still there. If you have opportunities at your organization and they're looking for folks with confidential computing experience, great place to connect to talent there. Do you guys know if there is not only a, hey, we're looking to hire, but is there a, I'm looking to be hired aspect of this, an opportunity for people to put their resumes up seeking connection
we don't have a function like that at the moment.
You might want to consider that.
There is a web possibility. It's GitHub driven that's being developed by the CNCF, which will save us money, and it's self-service running through pull requests as far as I know, and I think they're going to have a I'm available to be hired section as well soon. So we can look at that later in the year when it starts getting stable, and we'll also save money on web.
Okay, upcoming events. Next week is Confidential Computing Summit. We've got the Confidential Computing Mini Summit later in the month as well. And then the AI Infrastructure Summit, September 9th through 11th in Santa Clara. Newsletter, of course, if there's news from your organization, got some new product announcement, going to be present at a at a location, got a demo or something that you want to show, the newsletter is a good place to do it. I saw our colleagues at Super Protocol were pretty active this week and putting up some new content for the newsletter. If you have a blog, one of those, of course, using the blog submission form, go ahead and put up things if you have longer form or medium form, written work to put up, a new thoughts on attestation, thoughts on regulatory, all of those are good things to put into the CCC blog and get amplified. Okay, let's dive into our first topic, which is social media. I think we'll turn this one over to Angela.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So a quick snapshot of what happened in May. We had an increase of 4.91% of followers, and our impression also grew to 38.86%. And our content focus in the past month was around Mini Summit, Confidential Computing Summit. And the top post last month was When Confidential Computing Meets EdTech. So give it a look. And next slide. So in April, Google Analytics showed that Bulgaria was our second highest source of traffic with 723 visitors. However, when we dug into the data, 716 of those were marked as unassigned, which typically means that they were using some kind of tracking blocker. And what's interesting is that only 10 of those visitors, which is just 1.38%, were considered engaged, which is far below our site-wide average of about 49%. So none of these users navigated past the homepage, and the average session duration was only 15 seconds. So all these signs suggest that this was likely a bot traffic, though it's still unclear what the intention behind it was. So this is about Bulgaria traffic.
Interesting. I read that. I'm like, this is, the internet is a fascinating place. Okay. Any questions about the social media update? Great to see up arrows on pretty much all the numbers. All right, moving on. Talk about CC Summit. So we had looked at doing a CC Summit happy hour. This was going to be the Monday evening. CC Summit, they've got their workshops, kind of pre-show workshops on Monday, and then the show itself opens on Tuesday. It goes Tuesday and Wednesday. This was going to be a happy hour that we were staging on the evening of Monday the 16th. For a wide variety of reasons, we decided that we're not going to proceed with the happy hour. And now we also we could either walk away from the money that we have paid to the venue, which would have been about $12,000, $13,000, which is a lot to walk away from, or they offered us look, we can't give you a refund, but we can give you a credit. So we've got a credit with the Hilton Canopy venue in San Francisco that we can use anytime the rest of the year. So action item for all our members. We're looking for suggestions for the high ROI use of that credit in the venue. And so the venue holds up to 60. I'm told from the managers there that it feels pretty full at as low as like 35. So somewhere between 35 and 50. We'd love to have this opportunity to get folks together in this venue. We've got credit for use of the venue, a lot of food, other things. So we could have a focused executive seminar on confidential computing. We could have it'd be hard to set up like a technical lab up in the bar, but it would probably be great. The executive seminar, technical workshop, presentation from experts and academics. We could do student development and student outreach at universities in the Bay Area or something like that. All kinds of things that we could possibly do with this credit at this venue. We've got, I'm sure there's, you know, half a dozen shows and events coming up, you know, like something like Red Hat Summit or VMworld or whatever that are coming up that we might want to piggyback onto, you know, and have confidential computing sidebar with coincident with, say, Red Hat Summit would be, you know, options. So if you have thoughts, if you have ideas, please go ahead and post them on the outreach channel on Slack or email them back to either myself, Brian, the whole list, you know, whoever. But, you know, bring us those ideas for how we could possibly use that credit to get a lot of bang for our bucks there. Any questions about that? All right. Let's keep going. Okay. Staffing at the booth at CC Summit. So booth being a table. We need volunteers for folks to step up and stay on the post for the CCC during next week's summit. We've got most of the traffic in the at the exhibitor area is either in the morning and the afternoon break or at lunch. So those are prioritized. Those are the priority times to make sure that we don't just have an empty, unstaffed table. So hoping that everybody will do their bit, chip in an hour to it. We don't need we don't need that many people, but we would love to have every hour that the breaks are going on or lunch is going on, somebody is there to represent the CCC. We got a sign up form at the link there. And now, okay, so what's in it for me? You know, this is, although when you're standing post in the CCC table, you're representing the whole category of confidential computing. But, you know, if you are, you know, there from one of the member companies, there's no reason that you can't also say, look, you know, here's what we do with it at my organization. We, you know, we focus on ad tech, or we focused on confidential AI, and this is what we do. So it is an opportunity to not only promote the category and raise the boats under all of us, or raise the tide under all the boats, but also an opportunity to highlight what you can do with your particular organization. So help yourself to a slot. Really appreciate everybody who's going to be there doing their bit. All right. By the way, I was going to use the Uncle Sam, I want you image, which seems a little US centric, and given world conditions, probably not great. Does Smokey the Bear translate outside the United States? Okay, I'll work on it.
Always,
right.
always wondered why Smokey never had a shirt, but he had a jeans pants. So mystery. I'm just
Very.
it's a joke.
You know, he lives in the woods. You know, shirts are optional. Okay. Badge and mascot. All right. So, governing board has approved both the badge and the mascot. We had unanimity on the badge. We had one dissent on the mascot that felt it was too cute. Everybody else was like, we like the cute. So we have our mascot and we have our badge. So that is a done deal. Now we're gonna everyone's like, okay, so where do I get the badge? And the artwork, all of the artwork, logos and things like that we're going to be posted on the GitHub, and link is there. We need to get a formalized usage agreement for this. But in general, there's going to be three main rules. You know, one, you have to be a member to use the badge or the mascot. So if you are, say, you know, you joined the CCC once and then you didn't pay your dues and you've lapsed, you can't keep using the logo. You have to use the badge or the mascot as is. So there's no modifying it. There's no changing the colors. There's no changing the armadillo to be, you know, putting a cape on him or a hat or making, you know, him or her fly, whatever it is. Don't, you know, you got to use them as is. And then only using them in ways that reflect well on the organization and on the category in general. So the CCC is going to reserve the right to prohibit use of the badge or the mascot if the context or the circumstances of its use are deemed inappropriate. So, you know, if you're, you know, promoting your criminal enterprise with confidential, you know, confidentiality in your criminal enterprise, you know, there's going to be, will probably be discouraging your use of the badge or the mascot. All right. Next question, and I'm sure we will have high engagement on this one. Should we name the mascot?
Sorry, before we go to the mascot, just on the agreement, a couple of things. So when we did the proposal and to the GB, it was also that whichever member company needs to point to link back to the CCC member page. You know, so we wanted to drive traffic. That's kind of the call to action that needs to be there. If they use it as in, like, let's say on the web page. But generally speaking, who's going to draft this? Because I remember, Rian, we talked about, like, I don't know if we got feedback from LF Legal on the enforcement as well. Like, you know, okay, you get to point three, you know, hopefully it will not be an issue, but obviously we have to plan for it. Like, what's the process? Is like, you know, we ask Mike Purcell to, you know, trigger that request to LF Legal and said, like, send a cease and desist letter, or just kind of working out a little bit the details of that. The other element is, I think we need to close on, is the obviously all of these are simple, like straightforward principles, but I would really recommend if we can get a brand guideline, just a 1 or 2 pages. With that, doesn't have to be like super long or anything like that. Just like the do's and don'ts, you know, about this, all that's written, basically just having those like in visual examples. I think that's something I would really, I would like to recommend that we do that. So these are my
Yeah.
comments on that.
I think we do. I mean, I agree. We need to formalize the usage and things like that. Rihanna, I see your hand raised. Give me just a second. And I would like, you know, I do think we need to have a written policy because, you know, we don't want to be making this up ad hoc. Ab, could you take,
Yeah,
you've
I
been
can take on the action to work.
you-
Yeah.
yeah, you've been a leader on this one kind of since the jump. So if you want to help follow it all the way through here to the end, and work with
Sure.
maybe Rian to get to draft a more formal policy, or work from one that's already, maybe there's one that already exists for other LF badges, but see if we can
Yeah.
get
Happy
that done.
to lead that and so
Okay,
come back with a proposal.
excellent. Rian, I see your hand up.
All right. To a few points. So I like Ab's suggestion to add a fourth point, like if you're going to use it, hyperlink it back to CCC. I think that's a brilliant idea. About legal advice, we requested that we send a request for changing member sign-up requirements from group companies, which involves getting more member money in, and that took 5 months plus a lot of prodding to get it through. So getting feedback about defending the logo is going to take slow churning, and I think it should be a good faith thing generally, but we're still waiting for feedback from legal. Then on the policy, if you go to the repository, CCC artwork, there is actually already a guide that with the new badges that or new logos that have been published, there was a badge that a guide published by Dan. And I think we take that and we PR some changes into that about the mascot and about the member badge. I think that would be a good place for us to discuss it in a PR.
Sounds good.
Sorry, can you post that, the link maybe in the notes of the meeting, Rian? Just
Yes,
to
we
make sure.
could, and I'll also drop it in chat just now.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
And then we can just work together on a PR and get it approved
Yep.
by the.
There's no need to reinvent the wheel if there's something we can start from.
Okay. Now let's get back to what's really important. Do we want to name the mascot?
Yes.
Yes, we do. All right. The motion is
No, that was just
seconded.
my opinion. I don't wanna. That's
Because I have thoughts, and so I want to. All right. Why don't we go ahead and have a let's maybe have a at next meeting. Let's get some names gathered. So maybe what we can do is post up a suggestion box, or we can have everybody post them in the Slack. We'll get the word out as to how the suggestions can come forth, and we can vote on naming our little friend here. All right. Up next is this topic of communications channels, kind of timely given how are we going to get word out about the naming. So the problem statement, of course, is that we got a lot of channels. They're hard to find. You know, the wrong people are on certain channels for what purpose, you know, for the purpose of the channel. You know, people want to avoid spam. I don't want to get too many messages, you know, and I don't want to be getting all these messages for things that I'm not involved in or I don't care about. On the, you know, or on the opposite, it's like, how do I avoid missing messages? How do I make sure I'm in the right place so I'm not getting the message? So a good example of this was, you know, last time we realized that, you know, that Dan Brown had already done the modifications to like the badge and the mascot that I had repeated, but we didn't know because, you know, he replied on one Slack Slack DM channel to a handful of people that some other people weren't on, and so nobody, you know, some people didn't know that that had actually happened, and so we wound up having kind of this crazy snafu of you know, of just not missing each other, just going right by each other. So what I'm thinking should probably like be the big three for communications channels is for those that are Slack users, and I encourage folks to you know, get on the Slack thing. Outreach all, which would be a message that, you know, that is the channel that goes to everyone who's registered for the outreach committee on Slack. So that, you know, you'll start getting, you know, anything that's posted at all on that one is going to get, you'll, if you got your notification set, you will get a notification that there's new messages in that, or if you can check it, you can see all the messages directed at all the members. Now that one, I think we're all going to have to be judicious about how chatty we're going to be on that one because everybody's on it. And so you'll want to maybe divert some conversations to another channel if, you know, some kind of a more direct messaging thing is appropriate for the context, but for a place to send out alerts to, hey, remind everybody, hey, we need your ideas for, you know, mascot names, or hey, everybody, hope to see you at such and such an event. That's outreach all would be the place to go. There'd be a second channel that's outreach management, and that is a smaller channel, mostly targeted at the kind of the core management team of the committee. So that's going to be the chair, the vice chair, executive director, and the program managers. So, in our current configuration, that's Rachel, me, Mike Brissell, Rianne, and Renew. So that would be the outreach management channel. And then there's the email list where everyone who's registered their email address with outreach will get those emails. Those are what I think are the big three. Any thoughts, comments?
I have some thoughts or comments.
Go for it.
So yeah, the categories I'm okay. Personally, I get the separation. I'm only obviously interested in 1 and 3. For 1, for the Slack outreach all, my preference is just to call it outreach. That's keeping it
That's
simple.
Yeah,
You,
that's
you see
currently
the,
what it's called. So
yeah.
we wouldn't have to
So,
change it.
because TAC already the same. All other committees they just like TAC or basically just keeping it outreach. I think the other question I have or thought, and this is my kind of thinking out loud here. What goes into 1 and 3, meaning the email list and the Slack channel? Is it exactly the same? Whatever is posted in the Slack channel is sent into the email to the email list. I'm not pushing for that. I'm just that's kind of for me. It's what goes into that and how. Uh, the reason I'm asking that is maybe some people use more like diligently the email versus Slack, and that way they don't miss anything. Or maybe we just say, yeah, Slack is the tool that's more agile or like
Chatty.
these. Yeah, I mean, or just going like to move fast, right? If you need to move fast, email is more about like, okay, the notes of the meetings. I think the other that's for me that next question is what goes into like the Slack and the email list. So yeah, as I said, the naming for the channel, I recommend personally to just call it outreach, and for the email and the next I think point that we need to discuss, in my opinion, is the what goes into each, like especially option 1 and sorry, channel 1 and the email list.
Okay. Do you have a fair point? Do you have, I mean, and I agree with you, the tool matters. Slack is more chatty and than email. At least, please, for the love of whatever, let's not make email super chatty because it gets, really spammy fast. So I think that's a fair distinction, which is, I would say everything that goes on email would probably also go in Slack outreach, but the opposite is not true. So if you have a major announcement, say for example, hey, we've opened up the voting for the mascot name, that would probably go on to Slack outreach and it would go on to email. But I don't want to hear every single question, every single idea coming back on email. I'd rather, if they're coming back, I'd rather they were coming back on Slack. So, or, us ribbing each other for our terrible ideas about naming things. So all that kind of chatter would probably stay on Slack. That is my thought on that one. Any other ideas or preferences regarding the different channels?
I actually agree with your suggestion. Like basically, Slack is the kind of superset that has the formal elements of, emails would be like, hey, the meeting notes, hey, here, the opening of the vote, the forms and things like that basically require a, well, yeah, quote unquote formal action. Well, which also needs to go into Slack, and Slack is also for exchange, a rapid exchange to move quickly on if there's something that we need to address instead of because email, yeah, can become very, if there's a lot of back and forth by email, and also like the sequence of the messages, as you know, in email, the conversation can be out of sync. So
Yeah,
I second you. Okay, short answer. I second your proposal, Mike, or your
okay.
suggestion.
All right. And I don't think this also doesn't prohibit like direct messaging in Slack, but let's not try and do broad-based business on direct message in Slack. I think it's just that's kind of what got us into the the cul-de-sac that we found ourselves in last week. Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm not sure I'm following what you mean.
Oh, so with the artwork thing.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, I get that,
Yeah.
but sorry, what do you mean? Like we don't use Slack?
So say for example, because I think what happened was when Dan said that the modified files were now available, he was responding into a Slack DM channel that had a handful of people on it. Me,
No, that was not the issue. There were two channels. One was called Outreach, and the other was Outreach dash Marketing. So Dan was posted in Outreach, which is the right channel. I personally didn't see it because it was not actually I was not on it. So because when I joined, I was always on the Outreach dash Marketing. That was the problem.
okay. All
So
right.
there was
Well,
literally two channels. It's not a DM thing. It was actually, and which brings to your point is that also by the principles we have in CCC is transparency and open communication. So we should not, unless something like a quick, exchange, like, hey, like just a quick question. But if something that impacts the group or the committee, in this case, the outreach committee, I mean, there should be transparency as well. I think that
mhm,
helps as well.
yeah.
So
And
I'm aligning what you're saying, but I'm just saying the root cause of what happened was that there were literally two channels. It's not a DM thing. One is called, and
okay.
you can still see it. And I think we should delete the outreach or archive or the outreach dash marketing because that's just creates just a recipe for disaster in my opinion. But
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Rian.
And I tend to agree today. So if you go to the confidential computing .io website and you go to get involved, let me just drop that in chat for people that don't have it handy. And you go to get involved and you go to join us on Slack. So the top one is getting to our Slack in the menu. And then after that, you'll have attestation, governance, outreach, and technical committee. That's the main channels that we are marketing. My proposal would be aligned with apps. Should we clear out all other channels that is outreach related, that is not the central outreach channel? And ask one could archive it. It doesn't go away. But you can put a note there and a link that says chats happen over there, and try and do that with all other channels that I discover. And we only have one
Yeah,
outreach channel.
I think we
And then on
keep,
top of that, I'm with you with the leadership channel as well. Have a leadership channel, and even in the leadership channel, other than the leads and the PMs, I'll also add the marketing people if we have back and forth about discussions on marketing strategy.
hmm,
And the same go for mailing lists, which many people would not know. There are several mailing lists, one specifically for website, there's about 5 or 6 outreach mailing lists that we created early last year with the idea we're going to have various committees, but that never took flight. So I will also propose that next time I bring along the list of mailing lists that exist and we just kill the ones off that's not being used, or that will just cause confusion over the long run.
yeah, I'm all about cutting channels that we honestly don't want people use. I mean, I want to get it down to the minimum number of channels to get the business done effectively and transparently. So I think taking down or archiving or whatever those other channels that are likely unused is a good idea.
I can then take that as an action item, and I'll just communicate a final email and a final Slack to say this is all the list of all the communication channels that we closed.
Okay. There is a all right, we'll get to that in a minute when we get to the, if we have time to get to the things on Mike's mind. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap up this as part of business.
Mike,
And
sorry, just if it's okay, can we like the option 1 Slack outreach and just edit it right now? Let's say call it outreach and remove all. So we just don't forget about it. But if you don't,
Okay.
if everybody's okay, obviously. So
it is done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. AI Infrastructure Summit. So we have got, this is the event that's coming up in September. Santa Clara Convention Center down in the South Bay. There are 3 activities that we need to program. CCC panelist for their, and this is no longer an enterprise AI session. They moved us to a, anyway, it's an AI, it's AI in regulated industries thing. The deadline for this is actually passed, and I am negotiating with those guys to give us a little more time, or a bit more time. I submitted the thing to, sorry, I had to work this one individually because of the deadline. Submitted it to the governing board, said, hey, governing board members, anyone want to volunteer or make a recommendation for somebody to be a panelist on this session? We've had 1 volunteer come through, Manu, who I believe is from Ushmesh, I think, has raised his hand, and I'm waiting to see if we have any other volunteers today to see if we're going to have to make any decisions or if we're just going to take Manu's volunteerism and fulfill this deadline because it's, like I said, we're a week past it. The 2 other things that I could probably use, not probably, I will definitely need committee help with. There's 2 other activities that are part of our sponsorship. One is the pre-event online seminar. So this is like a participatory webinar, Zoom call, Teams call, with about 10 or 12 people. It is in August ahead of the AI Infrastructure Summit. The thing that's beneficial about this is that the organizers of the summit are the ones that they have the mailing list. So it's like they have all these people who are signed up to participate in this event, of varying titles from senior executives down to frontline practitioners. And so we can name what categories of people that we want to come to either our at event live session or our pre-event online seminar, and they'll handle the invitations. We can also invite other people that we want directly, but we can leverage their mailing list. So the online seminar, don't have a plan, blank slate right now of what do we want to do with a small group online seminar, very focused, small attendance. These are often targeted at more senior decision makers, it sounds like. If you want to have more of a business conversation or a high level value conversation, if you want to go deep on technical, it sounds like you could probably go pretty deep with a small group of really technically sophisticated folks, either way. And then the online or the at event live session, it's about 20 or 30 people. We need a title, we need a speaker, we need an abstract. And this will happen at the event in Santa Clara in September. So looking for ideas. I mean, one of the things that has, is a problem when you're chairing one of these committees is that you can either do it all yourself, in which case you don't have a tremendously participatory committee, but on the other hand, it's just a lot of work. And I think, and you're also just not benefiting from all the good ideas. I would rather spread it out and benefit from the good ideas, and frankly, spread out some of the work, because we all got day jobs. So if anyone has suggestions for either one of either the pre-event seminar, the at-event session, you can either sing out now, post something in the outreach Slack, email one of the officers directly. Either one is possible. I don't know if anyone has any ideas off the cuff that we would maybe want to kick around a bit. All right.
So this is ideas for events before the conference, and what would be the tone of the event? Would just like seminar or meetups or presentations? Just asking for more constraint.
We can do whatever we want. Basically they said whatever however you want to play it, it's up to you. The benefit that they provide is that all you need to do to fill your event is tell us what profile you're looking for, and we will invite those people to your event or to your seminar. So if we want to go for a more informal thing, we certainly could, an ask the experts sort of thing. We could do that. If we wanted to do more of a education thing, confidential, hey, let's look at privacy enhancing technologies in general, and particularly, do a comparison between them and confidential computing for a smaller group of executive decision makers. We could do lots of things. All right.
Yep. Let me brainstorm a little bit and get back to you.
Okay.
I think it was really nice to see Google's seminar or panel at the Computers Privacy and Data Protection in Belgium last month. They were mostly trying to advocate for the use of confidential computing in government and partnering with government in innovating on that area. So I think that could be one idea for the confidential computing consortium, but this is just out of the cuff. But happy.
Yeah. I guess, and one other thing I'd say, one other thought I would leave with folks is one that I often have to remind Intel people, which is don't confuse a tired message with a tired messenger. So, if it feels like we've just done basic confidential computing education forever, and how can everybody not know this? Most people still don't know it. So if we wanted to even just do, the essentials of confidential computing at our online seminar, just a Get Smart situation for some folks, that's certainly game too. It doesn't have to be, the technical depths of attestation. It can be, it can be basic education. And even though it feels like we've done basic education 1,000 times. Okay, let's go ahead and leave that one behind, but please, I'm starving for ideas here. And so go ahead and get those ideas to us. ideally via Slack. All right, other stuff. Okay, IDC. So thanks to everybody who chipped in on use cases and value props to test. When I opened my email this morning, there is an email from IDC, I suspect with an update, which I haven't had a chance to open up yet. With taking our updated list of value props and use cases for testing and be able to send that back. Guzo, I don't know if you saw that. I didn't look at the email. I don't know if you were on it. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. So I don't know. I don't know what it says yet.
I am in the email. I saw it. I didn't skim through it yet as well.
Okay. I suspect what it is either yes, we got it, we can do this, or there's too many. You got to go pick, scale it back to 12 or whatever. So we'll figure it out. I think the total count was 17 that we submitted. Okay, so we should have a report back on that next meeting. Okay, other things on my mind are we need to define the remind me later feature. We talked about this on the event QR code. And we said that, hey, one of the things that the QR code is a great way to go, oh yeah, this is my quick access point to the resources of the CCC. It gives us ability to measure engagement at events, but it's also unlikely, given the context, for people to now spend 10 or 15 minutes standing there at the show, on the show floor, exploring the CCC summit from there. We said, hey, we would like to have a feature that will allow them to register their email address and say, hey, remind me to come back to this later. We should define, what are the requirements for this feature? How do we want it to behave so that we can give Dan the clear order for how we want them to build this. We probably also, particularly if you're gathering email addresses, there's going to be regulatory and privacy implications. So we want to make sure that whatever we do, we are being compliant in that regard. So if you have thoughts on that, post them in the Slack. Or send an email or be ready to discuss at the next meeting. I think we'll put this on the agenda for next week with some requirements for how we want that thing to behave. All right. The next thing is for a not particularly well organized person like myself. It is hard to find all the resources and the links and things that we need for the CCC. I would love to create like a bookmarks packet. And this is going to be the packet that has all the resources that you need to be a fully functioning participant in the committee. This is, what's the link to the Slack channel? What's the email list? How do I get to the GitHub where's the link to the GitHub with the artwork on it? Where's the newsletter content submission button? I don't want to have to go back to, go try and find the meeting minutes, which is another link. Where are the meeting minutes? I don't want to have to go find all of those things all the time by digging back. And some of them are chains of things that you have to remember. Okay, I know the newsletter link is in the meeting minutes, but I don't know where to find the meeting minutes. And I don't know. So what I would love to do is create a packet that has all the links that you're going to need in one place. And so, in my ideal usage scenario, you click on it and it just basically adds a folder of bookmarks in your browser that you can go straight to. Or just the option for you to go to, just a word processing document with the links on it. But I would love to have something to get all my outreach links in one place. Thoughts? Good idea? Sucks to be me? Is that the... All right.
As
Getting-
also a person that has been on board it, I think the last 3 months, it would be nice to just have like a centralized folder with all the links and everything. Maybe just by itself a Google Doc or some form of aggregation.
Okay. Rian, who do you think who is the best person to maybe start get us a start on this? Is it you, Renew?
I think from a maintainability point of view, I think the best solution that I would propose is if the community say this is the links that we find important, like we have let me just have a look. It says get involved, and we can expand that menu on the website for get involved. So whenever you're looking for something, go for confidential computing, get involved, and then we decide what's on the menu. A link to the mailing lists, a link to whatever people prefer to have there, and just because also if we create something, it needs to be maintained, and if it's going to be a Google Doc, those are notoriously terrible to maintain. So yeah, I would prefer a menu on the website that we can update and put the right things. That's my preference.
Okay, I submit to the expertise of others on this one. I just know that I am hungry for a one-stop aggregated solution to this problem.
And maybe a mailing list thread saying what's all the places you want here, and then we give that a few rounds with the community, and then that we put in the get involved section of the website. That would be my proposal. So if
Okay,
you bring the links, I'll sort it out with creative services.
let's do it. Okay, we've got budget. Any
Okay, I have a few things about budget. So budget's going well, as planned, other than if we go to the next slide. We have done quite a few good things this last year or the first part of the year on the appearance of our website. Created banners and messaging guides and mascots and badges and all sorts of things. We created job boards. So there's really a lot of work that we've done. So we've budgeted for $5,000, and I have been informed we ran over the budget already by $1,800. I think most of the work is done. So my proposal is, if there's no objections here, I'll take it to the next governing board meeting and say we would like to extend our budget with another $5,000. Taking into account that we have dropped some events that save some money, I think we could convince the governing board to share some more money for more good work, like getting the menu sorted for one-stop shop for links.
I second the motion. I think I mean, if any committee is going to be using creative services, it's us. So having $5,000 alone is probably not sufficient to do what we need to do.
Any other thoughts? If there's none, I will take it anonymous with that to the governing board and say I propose we get another $5,000 here.
Okay, sounds good. Any updates on the mini summits? Remaining events for 2025. I think we've got the AI Infrastructure Summit. I think that's it, right? Okay, and the lead generation, we still want to have this conversation, but we are unprepared today. Any other business before we wrap it up?
Actually, sorry, crossed my mind literally as you were talking, what were you guys were talking a couple minutes ago. Do we have presence on Blue Sky? And if we don't, can we make sure we book like the handle for CCC similar to what's on X/Twitter?
Yeah, that's a question for Angela. Angela, you still out there?
Yes, I am. Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, it
So
was,
do we have,
go ahead.
yeah, go. No, I was saying that basically, obviously, we have the CCC handle and account on LinkedIn and Twitter/X. I was wondering if you have anything in Blue Sky. I mean, I know it's not the biggest right now, but just kind of securing the CCC handle there.
So sorry, I don't think I understood what the ask is.
Do we
Do we
have
have a CC account on Blue Sky?
On Blue Sky, I don't think we do.
We should probably secure the handle, even if we're not active. There are a lot of
Okay.
brands and companies who, even if they're not active, just kind of securing the handle. Um, yeah, that's my request. Unless somebody
Okay.
opposes that, objects to that, but
yeah. It
Sounds good.
seems to be the growing alternative to the former Twitter.
yeah,
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like Mastodon is gonna
no,
take off.
yeah. And the other thing that they have, because basically I remember when I created an account, like a year ago or something. They have actually one thing that to think about, like basically when they're, uh, you can have like a starter package, what it means basically when you join, they basically, if someone starts following the account, we can add like, these are like, let's say New York Times account, they have like a quote unquote starter package where you say, oh, here are the other editors or, reporters that you can follow in Blue Sky, something like that. Anyway, I'm not sure it's applicable for us, but something but at least securing the handle for CCC. So, we don't have to
Yeah.
figure out something in the future
And we
when
don't have
it's
to
too
buy
late.
it back from somebody later.
Exactly, right. So, yeah.
Okay. All right, we are at top of the hour.
Yep. Sorry, just to clarify,
Any
Angela, will you be the one taking the action on that, or?
Yeah, me and Dan, I'm gonna
Okay.
scan about it, and we'll see if Confidential Computing Consortium handle is available, and hopefully it is, and we'll create a handle from there.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Groovy.
you.
Okay, any final business? All right, if not, we'll go ahead and wrap it up for this round. We'll see you in 2 weeks.